Hey y'all, I'm Jessi Harry and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, please be sure to hit that subscribe button. We do a lot of food content over here, like grocery hauls and what's for dinner, things like that. So if you're into that kind of thing, make sure to hit that button. Doesn't cost you anything, helps me out so much. But anyways, this week or today we're doing a what's for dinner. Guys, this has been like the best what's for dinner I think I've done. It may be my best what's for dinner ever. Maybe not the video, but all the recipes, they were all so good. Oh, so good. So I hope you enjoy it. If you do, make sure to give it a thumbs up. Comment which one you like the best. And if you try any of the recipes, please be sure to tag me on Instagram. My handle is Jessi R. Harry, and you can see it in the description box below. But anyways, without further ado, let's begin. All right, so first up this week, we have baked Nashville honey hot chicken sandwiches. So here we have some thin chicken breasts that I've been marinating in buttermilk for about 2 hours, some unsalted butter, some baking powder, some flour, panko breadcrumbs, turmeric, garlic, smoked paprika, salt, ground cayenne red pepper, black pepper, and honey. All right, so first things first is I'm going to mix together everything for the breading of the chicken, which is the flour, the panko breadcrumbs, the garlic, the turmeric, smoked paprika, baking powder, salt, and pepper. Also, like always, the recipe link will be in the description box below. So now we're going to get all that stuff mixed up. All right, now that that's mixed up, I brought my chicken over. I'm going to pull it out of that buttermilk. And I'm just going to roll it around in this flour mixture and put it on a pan that I've got lined with aluminum foil, and I've actually got a cooling rack on top of that. You definitely don't want to bake this chicken just flat on the pan, or otherwise the crispy coating will not be crispy and will fall right off. All right. So once that's done, you take the unsalted butter and you put about a tablespoon of melted unsalted butter on top of each one of these. Do a little bit better of spreading it out than I did. I did realize that later after they baked, they were still really great. I'm just saying that. Make sure, try and get that butter real smooth. All right, so now I'm sliding into the oven at about 425, and you're gonna cook it until it reaches 165 degrees, but I'm gonna set a timer for 25 minutes and check it here in a little bit. All right, so now I'm gonna make the hot honey butter sauce. So you have your butter, some smoked paprika, some of that cayenne pepper, salt. All right, so now I'm going to put the honey in, and a fun fact is before you put honey in a measuring cup or a measuring spoon, you should spray it with a little bit of cooking spray, and then the honey will slide right out instead of sticking to the sides like honey always does, at least for me. So there's a fun trick if you do not already know. All right, so now that all the ingredients are in there, I'm going to mix it all up really good and then set it aside for once the chicken comes out of the oven. So here's the chicken out of the oven. As you can see, even though it was baked, it's very crispy looking, and it was crispy. We're serving this on brioche buns with shredded lettuce and ranch. I did not put the hot honey butter on both sides of the chicken, like I didn't go ahead and do it.
because I wanted everyone to do whatever they wanted, because obviously it's kind of spicy. I did it for mine. I brushed both sides with the hot honey butter, and then I put it on the brioche bun with the lettuce and the ranch. These sandwiches were phenomenal. We ate them the next day for lunch also. They were so, so good. The hot honey butter tastes really hot when you first just taste it by itself, but it's perfect on the sandwich. And there it is. And we serve this just with some french fries and great dinner. All right, so the next dinner we're going to have is 20-minute garlic, beef, and broccoli lo mein. So we have a steak, sirloin steak, shredded carrots, a head of broccoli, a red bell pepper, some brown sugar, spaghetti, or you can use lo mein noodles, red pepper flakes, garlic, black pepper, sesame oil, olive oil, soy sauce, grated ginger, and hoisin sauce. So we're going to get this quick recipe going. Alright, so first things first is I'm going to dice up this red bell pepper. I also cut up the broccoli into much smaller, like bite-sized pieces. I guess they weren't bite-sized, but just much smaller pieces. And my camera didn't capture that, but just imagine that you're seeing me cut up broccoli also. Alright, so now that we have the water boiling, I'm going to throw in my spaghetti. About 8 ounces. I'm going to let that start cooking. Right, and now I'm going to get this steak sliced up really thin. I did not do this, but a pro tip with steak is when you're slicing it really thin, it's good to freeze it for about 10 to 15 minutes and then slice it. And the pieces come out a lot more thin, and it doesn't have as much, you're trying to cut up steak and it's very soft and you're having a saw or whatever. So try that next time you're cooking steak and you need it sliced up. So now that the noodles are almost all the way cooked through, I'm going to throw in that broccoli that I cut up. I'm going to smush it down into the water because you're going to want to have that water cook the broccoli through a little bit, though it's going to be tender crisp. All right, now that the noodles are done and the broccoli's tender crisp, I threw that in the colander, got all the water drained out. And now we're going to make the sauce. So I've got some brown sugar, some soy sauce, some hoisin sauce, which is also another great thing that you can use cooking spray oil in order for it not to stick. As you can tell, I did not do that. It stuck to the sides, and that's why it's taking me forever to just put in three things of hoisin sauce. Also, just as an FYI, if you're looking at the recipe, I did double the sauce a little bit, a little under double. Okay, now I'm throwing in some sesame oil. I like things really saucy. All right, then we're throwing in the ground ginger, some crushed red pepper flakes, and the pepper. And we're going to get that good and stirred up. Alright, so I'm going to throw the steak in a pan, or I've heated a little bit of regular olive oil. And the recipe says once it's cooked all the way through, but I left it kind of pink because I didn't want my steak to be overdone. Then I threw in the sliced up bell pepper and the carrots, and then of course some garlic. I mixed it all together. Also, as you'll also see, there's no red pepper in the actual recipe. I added it just for a little bit more flavor, a little bit more color, personal preference. So once all that's cooked and softened, you're going to add in the noodles and the broccoli and top it with that sauce. And then you're just going to get everything mixed up and coated well. And then I let it sit there for a minute so the noodles could soak in the sauce, because I did have lots of sauce and I wanted everything to taste like the sauce because it was really good. And this is what it looked like before I plated it up. So on the side, we're going to have some sriracha, some soy sauce, some kimchi, because kimchi is great, and some red pepper flakes. If you watch my What's for Dinners, then you know I love red pepper flakes. I also air fried 4 egg rolls that I had in the freezer to serve on the side. So this was also pretty yummy. Probably not my favorite recipe of the week, but a definite quick and easy weeknight recipe that I think everyone enjoyed. Alright, so next up is garlic pork chops and creamy mushroom sauce. So we've got 4 bone-in pork chops. I just bought a little thing of assorted pork chops, some butter, some portobello mushrooms, some parsley, chicken bouillon cubes for chicken broth, Italian seasoning, salt and pepper, garlic, paprika, olive oil, minced garlic, and then heavy whipping cream. Alright, so first things first, I'm going to slice up these portobello mushrooms after I clean them really well. Alright, and then we are going to make the seasoning for the pork chops. So we're throwing in some paprika, some garlic powder, some salt and pepper. There was no measurements, it just said to taste, so I just threw some in there, what I felt was appropriate. Then you're just going to mix that together. Alright, and so I pulled the pork chops up, and you're going to take a paper towel and just lightly dry them. I'm pressing them really hard. You can see the camera move. Okay, and so then I just sprinkled the seasoning on it, kind of mashed it down a little bit, flipped them over, dried, and then seasoned the other side. Alright, so I heated the butter in the pan, and now I'm throwing in all 4 of the pork chops. It definitely was some Tetris skills to get all those in there, as you can see. So you're going to let those cook for 3 to 5 minutes. Get them a nice sear, and then flip them over. And apologies, that's olive oil and butter in that skillet, not just butter. So it's both. Alright, and then I let those sear 3 to 5 minutes, and we went ahead and pulled them out. Now, of course, you're going to want to cook your pork chops on each side in accordance to how thick your pork chops are. Mine were decently thin, so I just did them for about 5 minutes on each side. I probably could have gotten away with just 4. Alright, so now that the pork chops are out, you're going to throw in your mushrooms and get them stirred up really well and coated with that butter and olive oil that's left, kind of scraping up the bottom, and you're going to let that just cook down, let those mushrooms soften. So once they're softened, you're going to throw in the parsley, and then the Italian seasoning, garlic, of course, you'll get that all stirred together. Let that cook for just a little bit, letting all the flavors kind of meld. Alright, and then you're going to throw in the chicken broth, and then the heavy whipping cream. And once that heavy whipping cream's in there, you're going to let it simmer. The recipe says like 3 to 4 minutes or until slightly thickened. It takes longer than 3 to 4 minutes. I also threw in some pepper, of course, and a little bit of salt just for flavor to taste. That was my choice, my preference. Stirred it all together. I didn't really let it thicken that long. We were ready for dinner, but as you can see, it's nice and boiling, and it got a little thick. Anyway, so once it's kind of thickened, you're going to throw the pork chops back in there and let them simmer for a little bit. I did make sure to spoon sauce on top of them, and I let them cook for about 3 more minutes. Kind of let that sauce just delve into the pork chop. Alright, so I served this with some air fried asparagus and some mashed potatoes on the side. And here it is all plated up. This dinner was phenomenal, and it actually did not take as long as the recipe looks. It came together nicely. It was very comforting, is the best way to put it, and delicious. Definitely a family fave. Alright, so the last recipe for the week is easy Dorito pie. So we've got some hot pepper blend, shredded cheese, some lean ground beef, some Doritos, some crescent rolls, light sour cream, unsalted butter, homemade taco seasoning, or you could use a packet of taco seasoning, and then some salsa picante sauce, whatever you want to call it. Alright, so first things first, we're going to cook the ground beef. Once it's all the way cooked, I'm going to throw in your taco seasoning. And your water. Get that all mixed in, and of course then you just let it cook down until it thickens. And by thickens, I mean the meat takes all the water into itself. Alright, so once that's done, you're going to pull the meat off of the stove, of course. Alright, and then next you're going to make the sauce that goes in here, which is just going to be the sour cream. It's about a cup of sour cream. And then the salsa. The recipe called for 1/4 cup of salsa. I recommend using at least a half, if not 3/4. Just an FYI for when you make it. It definitely could use more salsa. Get it all mixed together and set it off to the side. So now I'm going to take my baking dish and mash the crescent rolls in there until it forms a crust. You are going to want to do it up on the sides because this is supposed to be a pie. You can do it in a pie pan, a deeper pie pan, but I did it in this baking dish because I didn't have a pie pan. You're going to take the Doritos that you crushed. I crushed the entire bag, and you're going to put half of them on the bottom of this dish. And then you're going to toss in that taco meat that you cooked. Spread that out. And then you're going to top it with that sauce. Now, disclaimer. Once you top it with that sauce, you are then supposed to top it with cheese and the remaining Doritos. I then put the Doritos on top of this, so you're not going to see the next layering part because I then had to scrape the Doritos off as much as I can because they're stuck to this salsa sour cream mixture, and put cheese on and then put Doritos and the rest of the crushed Doritos on that. So just FYI, that's what happened. So once you're done layering it, you're going to take the butter that you had and melt it and drizzle it all over the top. And then you're just going to bake it in the oven for about 20 minutes at 400 degrees until the crescent rolls are baked. So depend on your oven, of course. You want the crescent rolls to be brown. So here it is after it came out of the oven and sat for a minute. Not really a minute, a few minutes. This was surprisingly good. It could have been better if the sauce had more salsa in it, maybe even more sour cream. That could have taken it up an even bigger notch. We just served it with a side salad. Everyone loved it, and it was relatively easy and very filling. So definitely try this, especially if you have kids. Alright, so that's all for this week. If you like this video, please make sure to give it a like. And if you haven't subscribed yet, go ahead and do that. And I'll catch you in the next video. Bye!